welcome, 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 welcome. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Politics and Wellness. I am your host, Captivating Christian, all right, let's try this again. Hey, welcome, 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 welcome to Politics and Wellness. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and welcome to you all, my co hosts for this evening. And of course, this is a special one because this is the night of the first debate. So we have other things to get through, of course, and then we'll head over there and I'll do the screen share so we can all watch it together and kind of get a feel of what's going on. But hey, welcome everybody. Welcome Queen Diva, Armand Jordan. What's going on? This beach is better. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Okay? Can you hear me now? How about now? Can you hear me now? Hold on. Making sure everything is okay. Cool. All right. So this is the night of the first debate, the first one. Um, so of course, I am already on full alert. I'm sorry because I just don't know what is going to be, what they're giving. Um, I'm just ready for whatever may come. Although I am excited because this will be the first time that we will actually see Joe Biden debate against Donald Trump, unlike Hillary Clinton's debate with Donald Trump. So I'm kind of like, wonder how that would go. Welcome to Pink Paisley Lotus Effect. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you. So we'll get into that momentarily. But first, let's get into some other political things that's been kind of brewing and happening that I came across shortly before. Hey, Miss T Velocity, how you doing? Shortly before I came on air. Sweet Jesus. So there's this story about one of the grand jurors filing a lawsuit against the state of Kentucky because the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, held back information to the point where the jurors were considering actually charging the other two officers, right? But that information was not given to them and they withheld information. Now, let's be very clear. This whole situation has been a cover-up since it started. They did not file any kind of anything with the three officers for 100 and some odd days, almost close to 200 days. The reports, as we know, were blank, which already send up a red flag. So my theory on the whole thing is that they fired first, right? And they fired first. Her boyfriend returned fire on them, but because nobody was hurt and injured, and there was no reason for them to, start with the fire, start shooting off with the fireworks, of course. One of the other officers who had the 9mm gun, who claimed he didn't have it or never put it in the report, shot one officer in the leg on purpose so that they could have a reason to have killed this woman. And I think that's just what happened. And the state of Kentucky, as well as the city of Louisville, have been trying to cover this up for the longest. Now, what they figured was you give them the money, shut everybody up, the protesters and the people and the media will go away, and we will, go on as business as usual. However, what is happening in this situation is that the people aren't being quiet. So they're not just going away. Even the fact that the juror has started to speak out like, hey, all of this information we were not privy to. We were not privy to any of the information about the other two officers who were involved. We were just told about this one officer who in and of himself did illegal actions by just firing off at people. Sorry about that. I was just making sure all my stuff was off. So, I mean, I'm a bit perplexed because for a long time, we always knew that the attorney general and the prosecutors kind of worked hand in hand with law enforcement, even though they're supposed to be the check and balance against law enforcement. Me growing up in the city of New York, I've always known that kind of the prosecutors and all that, they kind of work together, even when they shouldn't, when they're not supposed to, especially when the officers are in the wrong. And here's a prime example of the length and level of cover-up and corruption that goes on in the police department and the justice system itself, who did not, commit a crime, no activity of illegal drugs, just for the simple fact of her dating this young man. And I know people say, oh, that's why you got to be careful of who you date and who you talk to. But we don't know to the extent of their relationship. One, they could have been childhood friends and just dated for a little while. And she just, she decided, what, where I'm going in my career is not conducive to what you do. And out of respect for myself, I'ma just part ways. And, they probably still remain friends. And she knew that he probably didn't have a place to stay. So maybe he had some stuff mailed to the house or whatever. And she would, give it to him when she saw him. Who knows? However it went down, she did not deserve to die due to her association on that level. If you didn't find anything with her dealing with drugs or her, transporting any kind of drugs for him, why was she even a suspect in whatever you was trying to dig up on him? I just think that the whole situation is completely outrageous, and they should continue to press that attorney general. They should continue to press the Justice Department. And like I said, I'm glad that the people are not letting up on this Breonna Taylor situation. I'm pretty sure, like I said before, that they thought, okay, you throw them some money and this will quiet everything down and we can go on in business as usual in this election year. But what they need to realize is that, no, we need to continue to turn up the heat for this very reason, that this is an election season, and we cannot afford any longer to just sit by and let things go by the wayside in a hope for a better tomorrow. Like, no, today is tomorrow. We don't have time to hope for a better day. We have to live in today, because we don't know at this point, the way this is all going, if we will even be here for tomorrow. It's so crazy. I just came across this article before getting on air. I didn't read the whole thing, but just the title alone struck me. In Germany, this Republican-like official was arrested because he basically claimed his argument was that he felt like immigrants should be put to death or put in gas chambers. Now, if it's true or not, I don't know. It came from rawstories.com. It's a news source that I do read a lot, amongst others. But I just thought that was pretty interesting, just for the simple fact that even if that was even uttered in a hall of Congress anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where it is, anywhere in the world, the fact that that was even uttered is a bit of something to kind of make you hold back, make you kind of go, wow, that's crazy. And it's not too far fetched the way these people talk, the way these Republicans on this side of the hemisphere talk. It's not that far fetched that they would say something like that, that they would even believe something like that. So, I mean, we don't need to take things lightly that these Republicans seem to throw out and take it as, oh, they can't be serious. No, we need to start taking everything they say as serious, and not as hyperbole, but seriously. Because at any moment, if they get enough power, they can enact those things. It's nothing, it's nothing but human decency that stops them. And very much so at this point, they don't have much of it. So, and we're at a pressure point where they are trying to keep power and will do anything to keep it and suppress your own. So much so, I know I put it in my news articles 2 or 3 days ago, with Donald Trump Jr. actually promoting people to go armed in tow to your polling booths and kind of monitor the place. Now, how the hell would any of them know who's there to vote, if they're allowed to vote or not? That's what the panel is for. That's why you go there, you give them your ID, they verify your address, they cross-check everything, wham, bam, boom, you vote. You know what I'm saying? So I really just don't, this whole intimidating, go there and intimidate the people with this 17-year-old shooting up, talking about, hey, he was going to protect some stuff. All of this has gotten me like, one, you're not going to stop me from voting. That's not going to happen. Two, I hope that whomever is in office, Joe Biden, of course, that anyone who has, and if you are out there and you see people out there, because I'll be doing the same thing, I'll be making sure that my data is cleared up so I can take plenty of pictures for anybody standing around while I'm voting or attempting to be online to vote, trying to intimidate anyone by brandishing a weapon or any kind of verbal attack upon trying to vote, because that is illegal. So then we can make sure that we take pictures and photos and video shots of these people and send them into the local law authorities. And even so, if we got to go over their heads from our local ones to the FBI or whomever, then so be it, to make sure that they get arrested and be charged to the full extent of the law, because to harass people with their vote is illegal, and they need to know that. But at any rate, yes, this is the day of the well-awaited first debate of these two candidates. So, of course, we'll be talking about the successes of both candidates. I believe they'll be talking about some economics or economic plans or lack thereof, because I really don't think Trump really ever had a plan. I still haven't seen it. Somebody could tell me what it was in the chat, or if you want me to drop the link, I can drop the link, because I haven't seen it. I still don't see it. But anyway, stuff like that. So question for the chat: how does everybody feel about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris dropping their 2019 tax returns? I mean, I thought it was, I knew it was coming eventually. I mean, that's what they do. It's like right before the debate, you send something, a bit of a shocker for the commentator to talk about and kind of ask the question, well, where's yours? As far as Trump releasing his at this point, I don't see that happening. I don't even think his base cares. They've already tried to spin it that, of course, it was illegal for the New York Times to drop that information. However, again, it came from them from a source, the same source that when you asked, or when your son asked, well, if that's news on Hillary Clinton, if you got some, I'm game, I'm for it. It's the same situation. So it's funny how we can sit here when it's about you and talk about how something is illegal, but when it, favors you, It's not legal. It's just information. Who wouldn't want information? Who wouldn't want it? So I mean, I guess. I really guess. I don't know. I don't know. It's really crazy. But we'll see. We'll see. It works for you. Yeah. I mean, it was funny. It was really funny. Funny to see that. I was very like, oh, okay, we ready to play ball now. And so now everything kind of picks up. After this, things will be like flying. And depending on how either candidate does, this will probably set the tone for the rest of this. Like this debate, I wanted to see, but who I wanted to see more, I want to see Kamala Harris more because I just really think Donald Trump is not a debater. Let's be clear.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
And the only reason why he was even kind of, I guess they looked at him as somewhat of a formidable challenge to Hillary Clinton is because she was a woman. That's all it was. And he felt like being a man, he can intimidate her because she was a woman. And that was it. That's it. That's all. No more, no less. However, he does not fare very well debating against men. The only thing he does is make fun and you know, call character names and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, we're not elementary school kids. We're grown ass people. So for you to constantly be calling names, oh, hey, you did that your first go around. You've been there 4 years. You mean, please don't tell me you're going to start calling him Sleepy Joe all night. And Sleepy Joe, when you sat up on the podium slurring your words as if you were so high, you couldn't even keep your teeth in your mouth. Sounding like Nancy Pelosi sometimes when y'all can't get y'all polydent to work. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out. I don't know. It just sounds real crazy. Their teeth be like flying in their mouths. But I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. But for anybody who just came in, I did see you, Auntie Donna. Welcome. Always great to see you. Excuse me. Thank you guys for stopping by, coming in. I know there's a lot of people on and some people who ain't been on, try to get on. You know, who don't do this sort of thing, but it's all good. You know, it's more room for everybody, and I'm thankful for the people that are here, and you're here for a reason. No tea, no shade. So, what Biden just has to look like an adult at this point, right? Exactly. I mean that definitely, he just has to look like the adult in the room and just skate on by. But I really want to see Kamala Harris and Mike Pence debate for sure. I really want to see that one. I am so ready for that one. This one, I'm really like, either way, I feel either way about it. It's no big deal. Because I do know at this point, it's I mean, what more evidence do you need? We're at 7 million people infected. Almost, we know we're at 200,000 and change deaths from this virus. Now, whether or not the hospitals are saying corona and it's not corona, what does it matter at this point? What does it matter? I'm sure that there are so many people in these hospitals that they are overloaded, that they can't even handle what they have. Yeah, right. Exactly. I just need to stay alert. Don't crack no jokes. I don't need to hear a nickname for Donald Trump. I don't need any of that. I need you to be the adult president in the room and just teach the children. That's all I need you to do at this point. I don't need nothing else. Nothing else at all. So what do you guys feel about, how do you guys feel, basically, about his $70,000 spent on his hair? $70,000 on his hair. Well, I mean, his daughter ain't that much better. I think her total was like $98,000 on hair. I'm confused. Like, what kind of hair appointments are these? Like, hair? Seriously? It'd be the richest, the people who claim to be the richest always wasting the most, and not of their own money, of other people's money. This is taxpayer money we're talking about. So when people start, oh well, that's $70,000, that's his bit. No, 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 no. The first bit was when he was on The Apprentice. So NBC was paying for that. This bit, that's what we pay for. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just can't.
Shut up and take my money.
I can't give it to him. I cannot give it to him. I can't do it. But these Republicans, man, they will surely talk about how conservatively fiscal they are, and yet be the main ones throwing all the money out, but making sure they pocket enough of it for themselves while they throw the rest of it away. And then talk about how all these programs are costing the taxpayers money. No, what's costing the taxpayers money is you guys. You guys wasting money on nothing, but making sure that whatever you waste money on, that you bring a profit at the end of the day. Not the people, but you. And people suffering, joblessness, crazy, all this other stuff. And you sitting up here worried about what? A stock market? A stock market only functions if there's people to work it. If there's no people to work it, where's the stock market going? Nowhere, and nowhere fast. Yep. So the debate actually doesn't come on till 9. So we can just chat around. If anybody wants me to drop the link, I'll do so. And then we'll just go right into that and watch it together and do all that. But yeah, so that's all I really had, unless anybody else had a story or something they came upon. Please remember to check the community wall. There is a story of a young man who was, I'm just going to say it, who was murdered by a fellow neighbor that necessarily wasn't his friend, but he was friends with his younger brother. And it happened in Wichita, Kansas. The young man who was murdered happened to be Black. His friend's brother, they were white. And basically kind of the same thing like with Breonna Taylor. It was this huge cover up, a lot of hush. So the media would not get wind of it and kind of bring all the attention to that area. This happened about a year ago. And the mother is still kind of seeking justice for what had happened to her son. They kind of gave all these stories that, oh, he shot himself. Then they came back and said, oh, well, no, the 11-year-old son of the woman's house that he was at, he shot him, but it was an accident. And they basically, hearsed the boy to say, it was an accident, because the officer was like, well, if you don't say it was an accident and you lie to us, you could go to jail. And of course, he just said it was an accident. And as usual, they never like to end the lives of their own, even when they do criminal activity. It's always like, oh, well, they did something stupid now, but maybe they can turn around later when they get older. But we never get that benefit. It's always guilty, and you will remain guilty for the rest of your life. So I'm trying to figure out, where is the equality in that? And if he did do something wrong, and if it was a mistake, so be it. But like anything, if the roles were reversed, they would have definitely charged that young man as an adult, and they wouldn't have cared about anything as far as an accident. And the family would have also been compensated because they would have been able to sue civilly to sue the family. And the fact that this family has not only been able to have closure in the fact of their child being murdered, but they can't even sue the family for damages to their loved one is a bit bizarre. So definitely take a look at that interview that official G Spot did. It's on my community wall. If you can share it out, please do so that other people can get a wind of it and we can kind of make a change in this and hopefully bring some attention. Hey, Bertha Mae Jackson, how are you? Nice to see you. Uh, Yeah, no, I agree with you totally, brother Nate. They don't see us as human. They never have. And that's the part that we need to get. Like, we need to get it and stop trying to kind of play this game as if eventually one day they'll see us as human. And I'm not saying they all don't, but majority of them don't. It's clear in their actions. It's clear in their actions. So, we need to move accordingly and not act as if we are so beholden for them to see us and appreciate us. The best way I need you to see me is respect me. You don't even need to know, you don't need to care if I exist. But if I come into your presence, you need to know, okay, he's here. Like, that's it. That's all I need you. I don't need nothing else from you. I don't need your, hey, how you doing? Oh, that little fake smile you give when you're walking by and you go, good morning. They like they can't open up their mouths to say good morning back. No thanks. Or when you're walking and you don't want to be rude and not hold the door and you hold the door and then they like swoop in, or when they're not trying to hold the door and they're in front of you and they squeeze their narrow behind in the door so they don't have to hold it to the next person. All that, I'm over. Like, over it. Over it. But I am just ready for this to really get a move on and be over with. I am so ready for election day. I'm ready for early voting to start here in my state. So we can really get this going because I just know it's going to be a mess. Like, I know it's going to be a mess, but it doesn't deter me because the mess lets me know that at least they know that my voice matters. My voice matters. My vote matters. So they know that, and that's why they do it. So all this extra stuff that he's doing, all the extra stuff that the Postmaster General was doing, that the courts have told him to stop, yet and still he still has memos going out saying that he's not doing so. Like, he's telling the post offices, hey, you can have the machines back, but don't put them in. Like, you can have them in your building, but don't put them in. And it's like, no, they need to be up and running so that they can be able to tally these ballots. They already they're already messing up with the ballots coming from overseas from our military as we speak right now. In Pennsylvania, a few weeks ago, there was just a case where they were having a mixed up with the ballots already. And it was only I think 4 or 5 ballots. So they are already setting. And that's why he kept throwing it out there early on. Oh, if I don't win, it was rigged. If I don't win, it was rigged. But anybody who knows, if you were paying attention, even in the 2019, if you were paying attention in the 2016 election, right when the polls were saying pretty much that Hillary would win the whole thing, he was saying the same thing. Hey, if I don't win, it's rigged. If I don't win, it's rigged. Just setting up the stage for if he didn't win, people were going to be like, oh no, she didn't win. And he just happened to squeak out a victory in a lot of these battleground states, as they call them. But I think the people are going to be upset either way. I mean, nothing more we can do about it. Nothing more to say. The people are just going to be upset either way. But I think people who believe in actually the premise, I guess, that the United States or that America brings, should see through all this. Can't even talk today. They should be able to see through all this. Now I can't. I'm not. I don't know if everybody can, because there's some people with blinders on that I'm just like, really. I'm not. Hey, Melissa Scott, how you doing? Nice to see you. I don't see it. Like a lot of my black brothers and sisters, I get it. Um, I'll be the first to say that the Democratic Party has abused the voting block of the African American community and people. Yes, first one to tell you that. But at the same time, what do I feel about the Republican Party? They've done the same thing. They've done the same thing. So I really can't. I mean, that's like you you getting mad at one and not the other, because they both have, done their share of exploiting the community. Republicans will do it in a minute just to show that they have, look, we got voters, look, we have voters that look like you. We're not all bad. It's a mess. It's a game. So they're setting up right now. Not sure if we can see it, but I'll share it so that way we can see it. And this is being shared off of C-SPAN. So, but yeah, these people are totally crazy. What you say? Both parties are rich and the poor suffer. Yeah, definitely, very much, Brother Jackson. You're spot on. I mean, and that's really what it is. It's like both of these parties um, have benefited, and they continue to benefit. So, I mean, no, not that one. What was I trying to do? No, not this one either. No, go back. Wrong button. I was trying to full screen it, but it won't let me. I guess theater mode to work. Great. All right. That way all the other stuff is out the way. Yeah, but both parties have always done a disservice to the community, but we need to start really voting and being a part of the process. That's the problem. A lot of us, we don't become a part of the process, and we have a lot of diamond and silks. We do have a lot of diamond and silks in both parties, that will shuck and jive for either one, and still, you know, hold on to what? Hold on to what while your community suffers? Like, prime example, Joe Clyburn out of South Carolina, right? Joe Clyburn, or was it North Carolina? Don't quote me. Well, out of the Carolinas, I'll just say that. But Joe Clyburn won the nomination for Joe Biden, hands down. If it wasn't for Joe Clyburn, there would have been no Joe Biden. So I mean, what more do you need? That there should be no question for anything that is needed in any community of color. There should be no question, but there will be. So that's the part that just makes it like really unfortunate. Hey, Golden Goods, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, welcome to anybody who popped in, anybody in the balcony, welcome as well. We are getting prepared to watch the first presidential debate of the 2020 election cycle with former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald Jackass Trump. I can't. I really can't. I can't with him. I so can't.
Uh-oh, retard alert.
I'm sorry. I just have to. It makes me feel better. Is that Congresswoman Lee? Who is that? Oh no, it's not. I don't know who that is. And he's another one. What's his name? Scott. He's another one. Like, get out of here. Get all the way out of here. I can't see how people could sit here and support him. Like, how could you sit there and support that man? He clearly don't see it for you. No, I know it wasn't her. For a second, I thought it was her, but it's not her. It's not Sheila Jackson Lee, but I just can't. I cannot. I mean, as a person of color, it's one thing to have your political beliefs, but when someone is sitting there basically saying that other countries that you possibly come from were shithole countries, I'm sure has used the N-word, has had you or scorned you because you did not go out and bring in no black votes for him. I'm sure, right? You see, he didn't have a mask, right? And these people allegedly have been tested for COVID before entering, and it's only supposed to be 80 people in there. And they shake hands and everything. Like, definitely watch what they're doing, because they're showing and signaling to the rest of America, hey, you don't have to do that. Hey, this is all right. When the president himself knew that this virus was a lot worse than what he tried to play on TV. Again, being the actor, he is just that. He is not, a businessman. He is not a statesman. He is an actor on a reality or a fake reality television game show. Okay? We have got the Steve Harvey of the Family Feud as the president of the United States. That's just it. We've got the Steve Harvey of Family Feud as president.
Uh-oh, retard alert.
That's it. That's it. No more to say. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mika. I appreciate it. But yeah, this is crazy. If you're not interested in voting him out, Biden better hit the ground running. Right. Right. Pretty much. That's it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I could ask everyone to take their seat, please.
What the hell happened to her? Is that a mask? A face mask? Oh, that's a face mask. I thought it was a neck brace. So I was supposed to be like, God damn.
My name is Janet Brown. I'm Executive Director of the Commission on Presidential Debates, and I'd like to welcome you to the first presidential debate of 2020.
Just giving us in honor of Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
who have made extraordinary contributions
with her ponytail and glasses,
making this evening possible. And in a few moments, you will hear from two of our co-chairs to start the appreciation to those who have helped.
I know she dressed like it's snow outside.
Tonight, her leadership in debates goes back to 1976 and includes the presidency of the League of Women Voters. CPD is the beneficiary of 33 years worth of people who have been willing to put their name on our work. To all of those former presidents and chancellors.
Yeah, she's giving me every bit of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay.
Moderators, to members of our Debates International Network who have set their clocks to 3 a.m. tomorrow morning to tune in live. We thank you with all our hearts. In 1987,
right. I hope not.
Founded the CPD. I'd like to introduce.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Frank Fahrenkopf.
Melissa Scott, I'll take your word for it if it's cold up there, because she is dressed like she freezing. She still got her, like she just came from outside.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Health Education Campus, Case Western Reserve, and the Cleveland Clinic.
Wait, they're at the Health Education Campus.
To go around and see this fantastic.
And they don't have on masks?
It's just a great
Okay.
tribute to everyone who's been involved with it, and it's so important to our nation. To say, as Janet mentioned, that this has been the most challenging time for this commission in its 33 years of existence due to the coronavirus problems. So many people, as Janet said, are
Hey, what's going
responsible.
on?
We normally don't come out when
Nice to see
my
you.
co-chairman and I come out and thank people, but we wouldn't be here
Hello,
today
hello.
if it had
What
not
did you
been
say?
for them.
Oh, okay. I
As
mean,
we
I
serve as
figured,
both the
but still,
sponsor and the
she's
producer
probably been inside.
of the
She's still got a
debates,
jacket on and everything.
we have a crew of 65 people, most of which have been with us for years. Some of them go back to the first debates in 1988.
Mm.
And thanks so much to United Airlines, who stepped up to the plate and graciously provided to fly our whole crew from one site to another throughout the rest of the term of these debates. So we have a great shout out for United Airlines. Anheuser-Busch has been with us for 28 years, as has the firm of Crowell and Mooring in Washington, D.C. Also, special thanks to some people in the network business, in the journalism business, Pentagram, CBS News Radio, and Intercom Communications. In the hotel behind us, the Intercontinental, there's a tremendously large room, which is called the Media Filing Center. There's only, I guess, is about 700 people in there today. We usually have 3,000 to 5,000 people in the Media Filing Center. And so with the cut down that we've had, and you can look around this audience, we normally have 900 people in the audience. You people are very fortunate to have the opportunity to be here tonight. But the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. tonight is hosting a media filing center for those journalists in Washington who couldn't be here tonight. And so we're very, very thankful for that. Many of you, I see faces here I've known and been in the audience before.
Yeah, same here.
There will be, in the estimate of most experts, close to 120 million people watching this debate this evening. It'll be on their TV sets, it'll be on their computers, it'll be on their iPads, it'll be on their iPhones, they're listening on the radio. And those 120 million, or however it works out to be, deserve to be able to listen and observe on this stage tonight. These two men put forth the reasons why they should be elected president of the United States. And that's why it's been our history in the general election debates that we urge our audiences not to clap, not to yell.
They're going to do it anyway.
Not interfere with these people who are trying to ascertain who they're going to vote for. Now, exactly at 9 o'clock, you're going to hear a lot of noise behind you. If you turn around now, you can take a quick look. There's 3 on this side and 3 on this side. And these are the major names. And at 9 sharp, you're going to hear them all go on air. And so it makes a little noise. So don't be afraid by it. And I must, at the end, really thank people that you saw.
How many times have these people been at these debates? They know the procedure and what goes on here. I'm sure.
Bureau of Investigation, Department of Homeland Security, and Clemson's University Media Forensic Hub that's working with us and monitoring the web and social media. So there's so many people to thank, and these men and women and the police department that you saw outside, the local police department, who work so hard to keep us all safe and to keep our nation safe. So thanks. Now I'd like to introduce the newest member of the leadership team, Ken Wallace, who for 25 years ran the National Democratic Institute of International Affairs, NDI, and we're really excited to have him join us as co-chair.
I joined Frank, Janet, and fellow board
Ain't nobody wiped that mic.
including Yvonne Howe and Jane Harmon.
Just passing it along.
Welcoming you to the 23rd presidential debate sponsored and organized
I can't
by
do
the
it.
Commission on Presidential Debates. As Frank said, I'm the commission's newest co-chair, and as the new kid on the block, I am proud to work alongside those who have been engaged in this initiative for the past 33 years. These debates have now become an integral part of our political process, a view shared by the most important judge, the American electorate. But as significant as debates have become here, they can be even more consequential overseas. where the commission, in partnership with the National Democratic Institute, has helped organize more than 400 debates in 45 nations. In post-conflict countries and in new and emerging democracies, debates have helped level the playing field in places where only one party has ruled. They have forced discussion on policy issues, not personalities. And yes, they have promoted comity among political competitors. And that's comity with a T. And this effort has spawned the establishment of a global support network of similar debate organizations from nearly 40
normal
countries.
debate. This ain't a normal debate.
Debates International.
You know who we dealing with.
Now I would call your attention to the commission-sponsored Debate Watch 2020 and the participation by watch groups in all 50 states. From a hair salon owner in Cleveland Heights hosting 10 employees to the Atlantic Council hosting a global audience for more than 80,000. The goal of the Debate Watch is not to say who won or who lost, but to share views with those who agree and those who don't, to listen respectfully to each other's opinions. We are pleased that the Commission's longest-standing supporters, Judy and Peter Kovler, are in the audience tonight. For 32 years,
We hope
Judy
so.
and Peter Blum Kovler Foundation has given its trust to the nonpartisan mission of the Commission. We are deeply grateful for their belief in our work and their extraordinary contribution to the 2020 debates. It is now my distinct honor to introduce Dr. Tom Mihaljevic, President of the Cleveland Clinic, and Barbara Snyder, President of Case Western Reserve University. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
What?
On behalf of Cleveland Clinic, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the city of Cleveland. Tonight, you join us in the beautiful Sampson Pavilion of the Health Education Campus.
Nobody with no mask. I'm just saying.
We share this campus with our partners from Case Western Reserve University. This building is very special to us. It was opened just a year ago as a place for students, medical, nursing, and dental to become
Right.
their professional journeys. Learning together as
Definitely
students.
does.
At that time, as we were opening this campus, none of us could imagine that we would soon face a worldwide pandemic. When it happened,
Oh yeah, a few of us did. His name is Donald Trump and whoever else is in his administration. They knew it.
the space in which you are sitting right now had 1,000 hospital beds. We called it the Hope Hospital.
I guess it might be. I don't know.
And tonight,
They acting like it is, but they did have to get tested before the event. Before going into the building, everyone got tested. So maybe that's why. But
we are
still,
proud to support the Commission on Presidential Debates as their health security advisor. We at Cleveland Clinic and our 70,000 caregivers have been serving the health needs in Cleveland since 1921. Nearly and our caregivers have never shone brighter than during this pandemic. The pandemic has brought out the best of our organization and our caregivers of our city and our state. Through partnership and collaboration,
all right, wrap
we see
it
how
up.
much we can accomplish when we work together. And we're particularly proud of our partnership with Case Western Reserve University.
That looks
With
like
that, I would
a
like to introduce my
Chanel
former
/
president of Case Western
Jackie
Reserve
O
University,
edition
Barbara
jacket that she's wearing.
Thank you, Tom. Case Western Reserve is honored to co-host this presidential debate with our partners at Cleveland
What do you
Clinic
do?
and delighted to show you this spectacular space we created together. Research has long shown that team-based healthcare leads to better outcomes for patients. And that
Oh,
nearly every
yeah.
academic
I could see
institution
that
continues
happening,
to
Mika.
prepare students in separate
I
buildings,
definitely see that
literally
happening.
in silos.
But
Yet,
we don't
after
need them to
spending
do that,
years
but I can
learning
see it
only
happening.
with students from the same profession, doctors with doctors, nurses with nurses, and so on, they are suddenly expected to know how to work in teams once they get their diplomas. We knew there had to be a better way, and together we built it. When not filled with a stage and seats, this atrium gives hundreds of students a huge open space to study, talk, and simply be together. The entire building provides multiple spaces for them to come together, supported by an academic model that emphasizes opportunities to learn with and from one another. Add state-of-the-art technology, and we know our graduates will be uniquely prepared to excel in team-based care.
Now, are we trying to sell the university or are we preparing for a
Along the way,
debate?
Cleveland Clinic and Case Western Reserve also learned from one another. Among the most valuable
It sounds like a
lessons
sales pitch to
was
me.
that through collaboration, we achieve far more than either of us could achieve alone. Thank you, Tom, for being such a wonderful colleague and friend. Thank you to the commission
Hey,
for
Nicole, how
giving
are
both
you?
of our organizations
Welcome.
the opportunity to be part of this historic event. It is a true privilege to contribute to our nation's democratic process. And thank you all for watching.
Now, if somebody don't come wipe that damn mic off, I'm gonna have an issue, a whole problem.
Thank you, Tom and Barbara, very much. Most valuable player award for this evening goes to Toby Cosgrove. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
And his daughter has to lead the way.
One housekeeping bit for the audience. As soon
Ridiculous.
as this debate is over, if you will please remain seated, you will be shown which way to exit.
Some smart people
and
in the
please stay where
room
you
with
are until that
masks. Look at
happens.
that.
I would like to now introduce Chris Wallace, the moderator of this evening's debate.
I don't hear him. Check your sound, Chris. Check your sound. Your mic ain't right. Oh, C-SPAN, you need to work on your sound system, something. Because everybody else was fine. I know what it was. Chris ain't want to touch that mic. So I'm not touching that till somebody cleans it. Go get the mic, Chris. Go get the mic. Mr. Wallace, pick up the mic. Unless he just saying, this is for y'all MFers. I don't want to hear none of this, none of that. But probably what it sounds like is
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
I'm sure that's probably what it sounds like. Jill looks nice. Yeah, Chris is like, this ain't for y'all. Whatever he's saying, I hope he's cursing them out. Hey, Antonio, I didn't see you. Let the games begin. I know, right?
Don't be rude.
That's so crazy. Them kids look atrocious. Eric looks the worst. Out of all of them, Eric is the worst. Eric is like I don't know. He's like the Shrek of the children to me. I didn't see it either. She might come out when he comes out. But right before he comes out, she might come out. Or maybe he said he didn't want his what he was giving the audience to actually be put out to the people because they cut the sound back on. Oh, there she go. And she got a mask on. And why she got to be sitting next to Ivanka? She can't stand her. Allegedly from the memoirs that her former press secretary wrote, she can't stand Trump's eldest daughter. Can't stand her. Apparently, they can't stand each other. Right. She don't want to catch nothing from those children. I bet. I'm sure.
Don't be rude.
All right, what the hell? It's 9:02. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Sweet Jesus.
All right, all this dead air. Like, what's going on? Let's get to it. Yeah, definitely. Eric looked like he got something. Eric looked like he's got crabs. Looked like he always itching. Eric looks gross. Eric looks the worst out of them all. Like Eric looks like
What the hell is even that?
you don't even know what Eric is. He can't hold a secret. He just tell all the business. As my mother would say, he can't hold water. Like that, Eric is definitely a child you never tell nothing to because he can't hold water. It's just he just blurts it out like diarrhea, just straight out the mouth. Well, how do you think we got all these golf courses? We got them from the money from Russia. And then, oops, I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. You did. You said it on the radio show. Oh, let me guess. Trump is probably getting his hair and makeup right before he gets on stage, right? Yeah, sure.
Quiet, quiet.
Let him get his final touch-ups. Okay, let's go. And we're waiting. Let's get to it, people. Like, what's going on here? Chris Wallace is like, really? Is he getting his hair done? Is his hair not right? What is wrong with the president? His hair is not right, y'all. He had to go back and get it. Yes, he has to make sure it's flowing right in the wind. He pays $70,000 for this hair, so we got to make sure it's right.
Good evening from the Health Education
There we
campus
go.
of Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic. I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the two candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain you can focus on what the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
Boo. Boo.
Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight: why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. We have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all. Top.
You stupid.
Good in every way. In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right.
Retard alert!
Very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they're trying to do it faster. There's no way they would give it up.
Yeah, it was some Chico's thing.
But the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also.
What do you mean you didn't have the election?
So
Obama was still the president. Obama was the president. What are you talking about?
To you, Vice President
They
Biden,
didn't
you
have the
2
election.
minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. Looking forward to this, Mr. President. The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted.
Right.
And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president, who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on that. He ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And the justice, and I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person. But she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that
Hey, Kim, how are
the
you?
Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be held pay more money.
Thank God.
because
Thank you,
she has a
C-SPAN, for
pre-existing
taking it
condition
off
of
the both of
pregnancy.
them.
They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man gets. And that ended when
Right.
we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions.
Yep.
And they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this.
Right.
And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election.
If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February. All right.
There are 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate,
Oh my
we have a
God.
president.
It's elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time, we have an opening.
Well, why the hell didn't they do it when Obama was president then?
And the 100 million people,
Tell that to Mitch
100 million
McConnell.
people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care, that they're very
That's
happy.
you stupid.
Well, you're certainly going to socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to socialist. medicine.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one.
Jimmy Chapman, what's going on? How are
He
you?
knows that what I proposed. What I
Welcome.
proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you said,
But
and it's not what
that
your party has said.
That is simply.
Your party
What?
doesn't say. Your party
That is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine.
party is
socialist
right
health
now. I am,
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of.
What's
What
Harris got to do with it?
Now, here's the deal.
You stupid.
The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7
Two.
million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act?
Joe, you've had
This-
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban,
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which was heavily
Mr. President.
You would have been
Mr.
much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
Much later.
Mr.
You're
President.
talking about 2 million.
Mr. President, as a moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Hey, Jess, what's going on?
The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is all.
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it in the ballot?
Because
Why is it
you
on the
said
ballot? It's not on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, we
And
should
you don't know her view on Roe v. Wade.
I
You
don't
her
know.
view.
Well, all right, let's talk. We got a lot.
What is with his
We got a lot of time, so.
Oh
on
my
healthcare,
God, I
and then we'll
can't.
Come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask
Go ahead.
my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and
Oh
replace
my
Obamacare,
God.
but you
What
have
is
never
wrong
in
with
these 4
him?
years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes, I
to
have.
replace
No, he
Obamacare.
hasn't.
Of course I have.
Well,
retard alert.
Excuse me. I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That
big
is not a
chunk of Obamacare.
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I
worst
didn't
part of
ask,
Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating
worst
him, not
part of
me.
Obamacare.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The
know,
individual
I-
mandate was the most unpopular
Mr. Vice
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I got
President,
rid of it.
I'd like you
And we
to,
will
Mr.
protect people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Go ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to
Get them together, Chris.
Obamacare.
Get
And
him.
just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump healthcare plan?
First of all,
Get
this is
him.
debating me, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something.
Oh, hell no.
I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting healthcare. All of the things that we've done, insulin. I give you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say, this is open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you,
big.
Get him, Chris.
You'll be happy to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare, and the argument that he makes and other Republicans make
Right.
is that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
will.
Sorry.
It will
Not what your
end.
party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you agree with Bernie Sanders, far left, on the manifesto, we call it. Manifesto. You socialize.
Oh, hell no.
Listen, the fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Thank you.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days earlier.
Oh, come on. Like, seriously?
Look, here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure, because here's the deal. The fact is that everything he says so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure. I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, first in
I,
Did you graduate?
Mr. President, can you let him finish?
Uh-oh, retard alert.
He has, you know, you pick
be surprised.
the wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto. Number
Please let
one.
him speak, Mr.
Number two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan. Absolutely agreed.
Folks, do you have any idea what this clown's
socialized? They
doing?
call it
Mr.
Do you have any do?
socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well, I tell
President,
you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care because he in fact already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
you better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But,
because
and by the way, he
Obamacare
doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never done a
as you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
gentlemen, you realize
is no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at the
It's
same
no good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guaranteed pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen,
You stupid.
and that destroyed that. They shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people. Okay. I said, you got to run it so well.
He's been doing this the whole time, and it just started
no
like
matter
20
how
minutes
well
ago.
You run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive.
I got you.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's
So
what his people
we
say.
do want to get rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open-
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir,
something
but I have
cheaper
to
and
give you roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president.
He has no plan for health care.
Of course we do.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a healthcare plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
I have one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. if Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take in that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
You're going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why would you answer that
because
question?
the question is,
Hey, Summer Breeze, how are you? Welcome.
Will you shut up, man? Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
this
Who's
is
on your
so,
list?
All right, gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have,
Mommy!
we have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it?
Yeah, the people understand you.
Right.
They sure
47 years, you've done nothing. They understand.
All right. The second subject is
My
COVID-19.
God.
It's an awfully serious subject, so
Ooh,
let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than
You
7
can't.
million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States.
Mm.
We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan.
Right.
He hasn't laid out anything. He
Nope.
knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was.
He sure
He
did.
knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do?
Nothing.
He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people.
Right.
You don't panic. He panicked. In
Right.
addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was.
Mm-hmm.
He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly
Here you
what
go.
we
He
should
can't
be
help
doing.
it.
And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open.
Right.
Open schools that cost a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and
Ooh.
get in your golf course and go
Ooh.
to the Oval Office and bring
Ooh.
together the Democrats and Republicans
Ooh.
and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
Ooh.
So if we would have listened to
You
you,
have 2 minutes, sir.
if we would have listened to you,
Good
the
God.
country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you
Who
look
don't?
at what we've done, I
You don't?
closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said President Trump did a phenomenal job.
Who said that?
Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job.
What governor
Most of
said
them
that?
In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal
Who said
job.
it?
We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We
I gotta get time for that.
made ventilators, and now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're
This
doing
is
therapeutics
crazy.
already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you
Lord,
bad
here
press.
we
So
go.
It's just fake news.
Here we
They
go.
give you good press. They give me bad press.
Oh.
Because that's the way it is, unfortunately.
Oh,
Just tell you
gosh.
something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did.
ACC
You don't have it in your brain. You could have never done that job.
I
No.
know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
You didn't
done.
do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic
Right.
recession.
Sir, you made a
There was
There
far less
was no
lethal
recession.
disease.
you made a point. Let him answer.
And there was no one, we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding the phone up so you could, in fact, say,
How about it?
Far
How
more
many
people.
How about it?
And
You would have been
by the way,
months late.
your own
Months behind me,
his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask.
Oh,
By the
is
way,
it?
in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all. Nor do you. I know you don't.
Oh, it's
What
all
we
good.
trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
Johnson, Pfizer.
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen,
and
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer and I've spoken to all of the people that
She
you have to
just
speak to,
lies.
Great,
Just-
Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call
So
them
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what I
that
call
the
them.
head of your Operation
Shut
Warp
up.
Speed, Dr.
I
Slaoui,
disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just
He
like
said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have
Right.
the answer
Exactly,
for
Nicole.
November 1st. It could also
Cervical
be
cancer.
generally
The
available.
powder
We're gonna
has been
deliver
causing
right away.
cervical
We have the
cancer to
military all
women
set up logistically.
at an
They're all
alarming
set up.
rate. So much
We
so
have a
that they had
military
to
deliver soldiers,
put it
and they
on
can
their
do 200,000
as a
day.
warning label.
They're going to be
this is
delivering
the
them.
same man.
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
By Easter, this would be gone away.
How about it?
Warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle.
It's like a
By the
miracle.
way,
That's
maybe
just
you could
what he
inject some
said.
bleach in your arm. That would
That's
take
just
care
what he
of it.
said.
That was easy.
Sarcastically,
That was
you
it.
know that. That was said
And
sarcastically.
so here's the deal. This man
Sarcastically,
is
but
talking
people
about
did it.
vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out. If we get the vaccine, and pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
You'll have
on
the
that.
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying that public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than
No.
the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying, Senator Harris is saying you can't trust the science.
No, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust.
She said the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But
he's doing it.
There's thousands of scientists.
He's doing it to the CDC right now.
Hospital that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by the way,
to the scientists that are in charge,
by the way,
they will have the vaccine very soon.
Do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about my man related to COVID?
Yeah.
He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
Mr. President.
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't
Is he talking about somebody who had his sister do his homework?
There's nothing smart about you.
And paid for people to take his test?
And if you would have had, let me just tell you something.
Come on, seriously.
If you would have had,
You stupid.
of what I was put through, we had closed the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See,
and
We're
it's
going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
When it comes to how the virus has
Come
been
on, Chris, you're
handled
slipping.
so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to
Tell
provide
that to
them
Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
What does she got to do with this?
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi.
And
Schumer,
by the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer.
Here you
they
go
have
with the
a plan.
name calling
He
again.
won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with the Senate. And he sits in his golf course. And, I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably
All right,
play
think
more than
about
I do, Jim.
No, nobody plays more than you.
Well, he wants to shut down this country, and I keep it open. And we did great
he
by
said
shutting it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute, Joe. Let me shut you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just want to do it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people.
No,
with
you
heart
did.
problems,
You knew about it already.
diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned
You've
a
known
lot.
about
Young
it.
children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot.
That's
But
not
who wants to
true.
shut it
These
down?
college kids
More
are
people
getting
will be
COVID.
hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states.
Oh my
and shut
gosh,
down,
I
they have
can't.
Democrat governors. One of the reasons they shut down is
You
because they want to keep
stupid.
it shut down until after the election.
Cannot.
All right,
Yeah.
I want to move on to another
Because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political-
on to another
But
subject.
those states,
I
those
wanna move
states
on to
are
another
not
subject.
doing well that are shut down.
But
Nobody's listening to you,
Fine.
Chris.
President
shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
of
You have to
masks?
understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rally.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear a mask like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will
But
say,
what does that got to do with
Vice President Biden,
anything?
Go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open businesses
God.
is give them the wherewithal.
You
to be-
stupid.
I
We
can't
provide
with him.
everybody the
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
and they've also
It
said the
matters.
opposite. They've
And
also said
no serious person said the opposite. No,
Well, look
serious.
at
All right, I wanna
Dr.
ask
Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the
He did
opposite.
I
not
want
say
to
the
ask you, we got a
said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good.
I want to
I'm okay
ask,
with
crazy.
masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both about
masks.
one last subject, because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people. Outside, yes, sir. Agreed. Vice President Biden,
they all
you're
haven't been
holding much
outside.
smaller
That's a lie.
events
Because
with
nobody will show up.
people with.
What's true? Nobody shows up to his rally.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first.
Come on.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not
hangars,
worried
and
about
we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever.
That's not true. Herman Cain died at one of your rallies. What are you talking about?
We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no,
Yeah, of course he's going to say it was rigged against him.
Put on a mask. Have you been tested?
Please tell him
I'm
about Herman
way far
Cain.
away from those other people. That's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing on one another.
We had no negative effect.
Please just say Herman Cain died from coronavirus.
35,000, 40,000
All right.
people.
You wanna-
at these rallies.
Please say Herman
I
Cain.
want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has
Oh,
handled the social distancing and people wearing masks.
All you need to say is Herman Cain.
All right.
That's it.
He's a
Plain
fool.
and simple.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the
Nobody cares.
gentlemen? Can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than
Such a-
expected.
oh.
Shut down
Much.
this, in the second quarter. The
I mean,
unemployment rate
just a
fell to
jerk, just a true
8.4%
jerk,
last
like-
month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be
He's
there, is not
total
going to be
jerk.
nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped.
He hasn't answered the
recovery.
question yet fully
Vice
and
President Biden,
completely.
you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because
Who
of the China
built it?
plague. When
It
the
was
plague
already
came in,
built.
We closed it down, which
You
was
came
very
into
hard
a built economy,
psychologically to
sir.
do. He didn't think we should close it down. and
Tell
he
the
was wrong.
truth.
And again, 2 million people would be dead now. Instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is
But they ain't
we
got nothing to
closed
do
it
with
down, and now
China.
we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record. The likes
Yeah,
of
and you had to
nobody's
send
ever
them
seen
back out
before.
of the
And he
workforce
wants to
too
close
because
down.
people
He will
had
shut it down
COVID.
again. He will destroy this country.
You're
a
not
lot of
telling
people between drugs,
all of it.
alcohol, and depression. When you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that.
Why the fuck you lying?
Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are
North Carolina had to close their school. They were the first one to open their university and to close it down.
It's not fair.
Within a week,
You're talking
it went
about
from
almost
10
just like
people
being
to
in prison.
300.
And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This
Yeah,
guy will
because you're
close
an
down the
expert
whole
on
country.
divorce. You know all
Our
about
country-
that.
Our country
Get
is
the
coming
fuck
back
out of
incredibly
here.
well,
You cannot
setting
be serious.
records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you.
Oh my God.
As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his
Yeah,
profligate tax
Texas is red, but it don't have to stay
proposal,
red.
and you only focus on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid
Well,
a total of $750 in
Wrong.
taxes.
Sir,
And he
sir,
made-
no, sir, it's
It's
just
the wrong
yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him
See,
have it.
I'll
now,
get my time back.
can he reclaim his time?
He has worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those
Right.
people who have been out there dying, people
Yes.
who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that
Very
we could
true.
all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United
Right.
States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why are schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely.
Yeah.
You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. A national emergency. They've
Right.
done nothing to help small businesses.
Mommy!
They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone.
Yep.
He ought to
They
get
are
on the
closing.
job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right, your time. We are going to get to.
I
We're
have
going
to respond to that.
Well, you both have 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a
You
statement.
stupid. So did you.
People want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their I look at New York, it's so
Uh-oh,
sad.
retard
It's
alert.
almost like a ghost town. And I'm not
Actually,
sure they'll ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open.
Okay.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it.
What?
And
All right.
people
What are we
in
talking about
Ohio are
football?
very
We
proud
dealing
of
with
me,
the
and
economy and people. We talking about
Ladies and gentlemen,
football.
We're going to get to your economic plans going
Yo,
forward. in a
this
moment.
dude's
But
a
first, Mr.
clown.
President, as you well know, there's a
Straight
new
up.
report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, in 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal
Right.
income
He's
taxes
homeschooled,
each of
Antonio.
those 2 years?
Yeah.
I
He is
paid millions
homeschooled.
of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax.
How much?
And let me just tell you,
And
there
when?
was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year.
When?
I paid $27 million.
Show
one
it.
year.
Show
I
it.
went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it.
Oh,
Yeah,
here we
go
go.
to the
Same
Board of
shit.
Elections. There's a 118-page or so report.
Why the fuck you lie?
Every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a I built a
Sir, I'm
great
asking you a
company.
specific question, which
But
is.
let me tell you.
I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand all
return.
of that.
But let me-
No, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
So not 700.
Millions
You're
of
freaking
dollars.
psychopath.
You'll get to see it. And you'll get to see
When?
it. But
In
let me just
July?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here,
Oh,
I was a private developer. I was a private business
you don't
people.
want to pay
Like
tax?
every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We built a building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a
Okay.
massive, which by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now the man got fired
No.
right after that happened, but
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
How we
Yeah, I do
get
want to respond.
fired?
Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax
Okay.
cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who in fact need the help. people out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you were president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done.
He's filed for bankruptcy 6 times,
We've
actually.
done things that you never even thought of doing, including
Gentlemen.
fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of
We're
your
talking,
vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans.
You freaking psychopath!
Because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when you were vice president?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
Right.
your
I got
tax
it.
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy boomed
And
like it's never boomed.
The economy is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower tax for American people.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you
For people that have
your
them.
ideas, you want to terminate my tax?
But a
my
lot of your
taxes,
supporters
I'll tell
do
you
not
what,
have
you lost
401ks.
half of the
Let's be
companies that
clear.
have poured in here will leave, and plenty
Half
of
of the
companies that are
companies.
already here, they'll leave for
Hardly
other
any
places.
companies have
They
stupid.
will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which
A
you've never seen.
depression?
You stupid. The worst recession, short
depression.
of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
He
booming.
blew
did.
He
It
blew
wasn't
was.
booming.
He
It was,
did.
it
He
was the
blew it.
weakest
Well,
recovery
sir, is it
since
fair to, wait, is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID came.
when there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse
Number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait,
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would
This
take a
guy,
miracle to bring back manufacturing. I
Oh
brought
my
back
God.
700,000
You sure
jobs.
did
They
shut
brought
down
back
Motown.
nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not.
my standard fare.
I'm the guy that
He
brought
totally
back the
gave up on
automobile industry.
manufacturing.
Let him,
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew
Yep.
it. And in fact,
Sure
they're
did.
going
Ohio
out-
had the best year it's ever had last year.
He sure
Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies
Not
came in from Germany, from
That's
Japan,
not true.
went to Michigan, went to
They're
Ohio.
not.
That's not
And they
true.
didn't come in with you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal.
Right.
We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before.
Sure
we have the
do.
highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch.
All
Down
right, gentlemen,
18%. China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars.
Don't talk
And
about
also,
this man,
while
Tommy.
we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is-
did he do with Burisma
None
to
of that.
deserve
Wait,
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
a
is
question,
true.
let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really? He didn't
Totally,
get
No,
$3.5 million?
Mr. President,
it's
Mr.
totally,
President, please.
There's
totally
nothing to do
discredited.
with nothing.
Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he
that's
didn't
how-
get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice
Oh
He
my
got
God.
$3.5 million.
that is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh,
President,
But Mr.
it's an open discussion, please.
No,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's
you have
not.
raised an issue, let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report-
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
no
President,
job.
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Mr.
The only guy
President,
that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
The answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
By who?
And
The media.
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies,
talk
by the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact,
Mr.
even the
President,
people who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
Under
ask you
oath.
this,
Every-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even
you.
People
Got $3.5
He
million
testified-
from
Jesus
Moscow.
Christ.
he testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to know
honorably.
who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do
Well,
a good
here's,
job. With you,
Go ahead, you got the, wait a minute, you get
Oh
the
my
final word.
God.
well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse
Right,
me,
because
this-
he's a
Heinous.
he's a
Heinous.
Mr.
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President,
Joe.
that is simply
Why did he
not true.
deserve $3.5 million from
It-
Moscow?
Look,
oh
here's
my
the deal.
gosh.
We want to talk about
He is
families
such a
and
jerk.
ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already
family,
No, let him go.
my
Let-
family
already
lost
wrote.
a fortune by coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's such a.
And they're right
Go
here.
ahead, Mr.
That's such
President.
a
Every
great.
single one of them lost.
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
President,
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family.
They
The
didn't
American
pay
people.
$3.5 million
He doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
Then you
here.
should-
All right, that's
Not
the end
about
of the,
you.
that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
You didn't take them.
Vice President, no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No, I
He stood
didn't.
up.
No,
He stood up
the answer to
and
the
he
question is
threatened
no.
Ukraine.
No, sir,
with $1 billion. That
Is
you know what, you're-
absolutely not
stop.
true.
Doing it.
you're gonna
On
have-
tape.
True.
Lord have
Gentlemen.
mercy. Jesus Christ.
I hate to raise my voice,
He's
but
on
it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different to the two of you? So here's
This
the
is
deal.
crazy.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question
Right,
about
me
race, but
too,
if you want to
Jeff.
answer
I
about
forgot what
something
the
else, go
question
ahead.
was.
But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been
You.
doing more
Oh,
interrupting.
that's
Thank
all right.
you.
He does plenty.
Get him.
Less than,
He does plenty.
less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very
Oh
fine
yeah, of
people
course he
on
is.
both
He's always, of
sides,
course he's gonna say it's
was
right.
what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more
Yeah.
for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is why
Ridiculous.
should voters
Than
trust
Abraham
you rather
Lincoln.
than your opponent to deal with the race issues
Not
facing this
LBJ,
country over the next
not
4
other
years?
presidents.
Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality.
But
It's
freeing
about
slaves
decency.
is the biggest.
It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America.
Mhm.
But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, disputing and just spewing anti-Semitic bile and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president has ever said anything like that.
It is who's
now, second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something, here, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look,
watch he talk about the jobs that he's brought to African Americans.
You have to look at what he did, and what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
Yep.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
He did a crime bill, 1994. Called them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they called you super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated
Hillary
African
said
American population.
That was
community.
Hillary's
You have treated
slogan.
the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support.
He's always saying that, but there's no evidence.
Military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have
red
Ohio,
states.
I have excuse me, Portland.
He's
the
always
sheriff just
saying
came out today and he said, I support.
Why the fuck
I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left, and they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe.
Right, he's way off topic. That's what he's doing because he can't. He don't have nothing to talk about on substance.
Want and demand law and order.
He's just talking about anger and racism. That's what he's fueled on.
Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case,
you don't want to talk
decided
about
not to charge any of the police with homicide. You said
it
raises
talk
the question
about him calling them fine
whether
people on both
justice
sides.
could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
yes, there's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor.
But the ones
Most
that are
don't
need
like
to go.
it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. and by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
President
protest?
Trump,
No,
I'm
it's
not
not,
asking-
but you say it is.
President Trump, I'd like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order
Please.
in a moment.
Fine.
This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical
Yep.
race theory.
Get to it.
Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane.
How is it?
That it was a radical
How
revolution
is-
that was taking place in our military, in our
How
schools,
is that racist?
all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
is radical,
and he would know.
What is
Oh, it was
radical
totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training?
If
Right.
you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And really,
What?
they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not
What?
going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Are
Let's go back to the core
Are you
values of
serious?
this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place. It's a racist place. And they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's
Oh,
the
you-
racist.
You just don't.
Thank you.
I know a lot more about
You
this.
don't
than
know.
you.
Let him finish.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important that people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to very many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now. But
Oh,
is that
bullshit.
the
Bullshit.
Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
You
crime.
still haven't mentioned.
Violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow.
Are you in favor of law and order? Go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm in favor.
You asked a question, let him finish.
Law and order.
Loses
Law and
Let
order.
him, let
I don't
him.
even know what law and order
with justice,
is.
where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down
He-
much more
he
than
had-
ours.
All right, we're
He
not.
is
You're,
president of
Mr.
the
President, you're going
United
to.
States of
China,
America.
we
Mr.
were
President,
breaking every record in the book.
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
so
my
is
question.
Democratic-
There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So is this really part of the issue?
I think it's a part of the issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers
You
are going
keep
up
talking
100,
about
150,
Chicago. What
200%.
does Chicago got to do with?
It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country
Oh my God.
and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have
We would
our
run it
suburbs
the
would
way-
be gone. By the way,
Suburbs.
our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've
He
never
wouldn't
seen.
know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would
so
not.
much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead. Wait a minute.
I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles and racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and/or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean? And do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean? And do
Right.
you support the
Armand,
Black Lives
very
Matter
much so. The world is watching this, and it's
call
ridiculous.
for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're talking about. He's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law support. He has no law enforcement
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
Look,
Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you.
Of course, they all not going to support him because they're
all right.
backed by
Name one law
racist.
enforcement group that came
I
out
think,
and supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the
There
moderator's
aren't. I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities
Lord
that have turned
Jesus.
violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people, the leader, excuse me, you have never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call us, bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here.
Oh, really?
Here's the
But
thing.
I sent in the U.S. Marshals to
question.
get the killer of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him. And for 3
Mr.
days,
President Trump,
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump
anything.
has
I had to send in
interrupted
the U.S. Marshals.
President
They took
Trump.
care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that.
And
And so here's
I don't think she said that. No, she said it.
That's what he keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody
Right,
together.
Summer
figure
Breeze,
out how to deal
alternative
with this.
facts queen.
What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly and every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to
Stop it. Get some help.
the answer, sir, you have repeatedly
I
criticized.
have to answer his
No, you have
His statement.
repeatedly.
Wait,
You have
just one
repeatedly. No,
second.
you've been talking
He
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
sir.
I would love to end it. and
You know,
we
if you
would
want to
very-
switch seats,
we can very quickly.
we can do that. But
I'd
I'm
send
no,
in the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
He
You have
is a bully,
repeatedly
Kim.
criticized the vice president for
true
not
bully.
specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
No, he's
and
not going
to
to do
say
it. Nope.
that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a
He's
number
not
of big
gonna do
cities,
it.
as we saw in
He ain't gonna
Kenosha
do it.
and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to
to
do that,
specifically
but-
do it?
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing,
See,
not
see?
from the right
He-
wing.
he ain't do
What
it.
do you say?
He ain't do it.
To do anything, I want to see.
Well,
He
just
didn't
do
do
it,
it.
sir.
Then do it. Say it. Say it now.
I want to call him. What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
What
white
would you like me to condemn?
supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
He didn't tell him
Somebody's gotta
stand
do
down.
something
He
about
said stand
Antifa
back,
and the left,
stand,
because this is
stand
not a
by.
right-wing problem.
His
This is a
own
left wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing
threat
problem.
about white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not
Right.
militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
FBI,
No.
his FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna-
you know what?
No,
He's
no,
wrong.
we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
Everybody
moving.
puts
When a bat
twice
hits
in
you
your
over the head, that's
administration.
not an idea.
Hey, Ram in the Bush, how you
Your
doing?
administration tells you the truth is a bad idea.
Can I tell you
You
what?
have no
This is
idea.
crazy.
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When a
in a
president,
Right.
I'm going to ask a question.
Say it
When
again,
the
Linda.
president seeks a second
Racists
term,
won't
he
denounce
is
other
generally a
racists.
referendum on his
Very
record.
true.
But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period
I'm
of
holding-
3.5 years.
hold-
And
hanging
that's
in there.
despite the impeachment hoax.
Austin's hanging
And
in
you saw
there,
what happened
'cause
today
this
with
is
Hillary
crazy.
Clinton, where it was a whole big con job.
Oh, here
But
we
despite
go.
going through all of
Talking
these
about
things, we're
Hillary
at a
again. He
fight
can't help
both
himself.
flanks and behind.
Oh, hell no.
There's never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers.
You got inherited
Everything was good.
that. Let's be
Everything was going. And by
true.
the way, there was unity going to happen. People were
Going
calling me
to
for the
happen.
First time in years, they were calling and they were saying it's time, maybe. And then what happened?
It
We
was
got hit.
going
Now we're
to
building it
happen.
back up again. A rebuilding of the
The hell
military,
outta here.
including Space Force and all of the other things. A
Hey,
fixing
Patty
of
Duke, how you
the-
doing?
The VA, which
Quiet
was a
storm,
mess
what's
under
going
him.
on?
308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. He was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings. And if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president. You can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term.
Time, sir.
300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters
Horrible.
elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2
President.
minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker,
Yep.
poorer,
Yep.
more divided,
Yep.
and more violent.
Yep.
When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession.
Gotcha, bitch.
Or to be weaker. The fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got
No,
$3.5 million.
That's right. And by the way,
He said
Mr.
uninterrupted.
Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers
He
uninterrupted.
can't even
Your side
uninterrupt.
agreed to it. You stupid. Why don't you observe what your campaign?
Because he doesn't care.
Sir?
He never keeps his word. Can
No,
you add back,
it's a rhetorical question.
Go ahead, back 30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So,
Jesus.
thirdly,
Shut
poor.
the hell up.
billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being my son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot.
Yep.
The people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking
I'm
about
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter
you know
got
Bo.
thrown. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. It
for
wasn't dishonorably.
cocaine use, and he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None
became
of that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son-
fortune.
My son,
His son does coke
my
right
son,
now.
like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why
I'm
was he
proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions
All right,
of
but he
dollars?
wasn't given
All right,
tens of
He
millions
was
of
given
dollars. That
tens
is
of
totally,
millions of
President Trump,
totally
President Trump, we've already been
totally discredited.
we've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a
I know, but when
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay, right.
from the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow.
Let's talk about-
What about what your daughter has gotten? And she still works at the White House.
Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money. That report, it was written for political reasons.
I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change? And what will you do in the next 4 years
Makes
to
no
confront
sense. He can't believe
I
in
want
climate change.
Crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our
bullshit.
businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of
Oh my gosh,
commission.
that's bullshit.
If you look
He
at
just
the
allowed
Paris Accord, it was a
them
disaster
to
from
dump
our
chemicals
standpoint.
back
And people
into
are
the
actually
waterways.
Very happy about what's going on because our
So,
businesses
yeah,
are doing well.
businesses
As
are
far as the
happy.
fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder. And
Not
leaves and everything
even
else.
considering
You drop a
that
cigarette in
you
there,
had
the whole
people
forest burns down. You've got to have
setting
forest management.
fires
You've got to have guts.
to
What
the
do you
forest
believe about
as well.
the science of climate change, sir?
Right.
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. We're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's
Oh.
very
Do you
exciting.
believe
I had to
that
take a drink.
human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming
This
of
is
the
I
crazy.
think a
planet?
lot of things
This
do, but I
man
think
is
to an
really
extent,
nuts.
yes. I think to an extent, yes. But
Like,
I also think we have to
on
do better
everything.
management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. In Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country.
My God.
It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I
Governor
said,
of
at some
what?
point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But sir,
That's burning
You
down
don't.
because of a
You
lack
don't know
of
how to answer
Sir, if you
questions
believe
if you
in the
can't.
science of climate change, Why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are
For
going to create
companies.
more pollution from cars?
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car. And you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But in the case of
$3,500.
California, they've simply
No, but you
ignored
would take
your
a lot of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, so, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of
Very
people
true,
agree with
sir,
me.
very
Many
true.
people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have
Con man to the
computers all
greatest.
over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And
That's not-
and I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given
From the
big
man that
incentives
doesn't
for electric
drive.
cars. But what
You
they've
don't
done in
even know anything
California
about a
is just crazy.
supermarket.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to
Shut
respond
up.
to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs.
My
You
mom
talked
used to
about
say that.
new limits, not
So bad.
abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired
mine,
plant in
right.
America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America.
No.
They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that
Fact.
we're able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations in all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good paying jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that in fact is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion. Say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is a guy who says that, well, the fact that it's all true. And here's the deal.
Talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking
Here we
about.
go.
When they want to
Always
write down
talking about dollars.
and rebuild
all he
the
knows.
building. It's the
Dollars
dumbest,
and
most
cents.
ridiculous, where airplanes are out of business, where two-car systems are out, where they want to take out the cows too. That's not true either, right? This is a
out the
100
cows.
trillion.
Look,
that's more money than our country could make in 100 years if we're
not
going to
the case.
Then he needs more money than he can steal.
Wait a minute, sir. I actually
That means more money than he can
studied your
steal.
plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy efficient homes. So the question, some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good paying jobs.
Let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100 billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good paying jobs, and these tax incentives to people for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that.
That's what they did say.
You made it up.
On floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happening just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. But the rest of the world, we got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is
not
not my
billion.
plan.
That's
Green.
Well, they
New
want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
I want to rebuild every
If he
made a statement about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did, he called the military stupid bastards. And he said it on tape. He said stupid bastards. He said it.
Stop.
I would never say that.
Play it.
Oh
Go ahead.
my God.
Mr. Vice President, answer his final question.
The
This
final
man.
question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about
He's
the
a
economy and about
two-jerk.
this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental changes will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. You're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
But you
You're going to
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support that?
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
You don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just lost the radical left.
I
Oh,
support
you
the
don't?
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment. Election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks? Because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating.
Right.
They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida.
Facts.
Number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and their polls stay open until the votes are counted. This is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote. Vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early.
Yep.
If you're able to vote in
Very
person,
true.
vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of
think
whether or
so?
not when the votes are counted, and they're all counted,
I
that
think so
will be
too. He
accepted.
might.
If
Have
I
a little
win,
hot thing for
that will be
Hillary.
accepted. If I lose, it'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition, because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won, and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. Solicited ballot.
Oh God.
Okay, solicited is okay.
You're so full
You're
of
soliciting.
shit.
You're asking. They send it back. You send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump. Just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket.
In creeks.
Being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well, because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months. Because
Why the fuck you lying?
Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days
Where did they say that?
The election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states.
There's no place that says that.
2 minutes is 2 minutes.
No place that says that.
President
You
Trump,
really pulling that
I
out your ass.
You're going to be able to continue. You have been
You
charging
can't
for
even
months
send
that
no
mail-in
ballot
balloting
across
is gonna be a
this
disaster.
country
You say it's rigged, that it's
by
gonna lead
November
to
10th
fraud.
at all.
But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think, I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them. We don't like them. We don't like them.
But what are you going to do about it? If there are millions of ballots
What
going out
you
right
do
now,
is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot.
No,
and that's okay. Or you go and vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people.
You go and vote. You go and vote
like they used
to in the old
millions of people.
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. What? They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country.
He is making this shit up.
This is not going.
He is making this shit up.
This is not going.
Vice President Biden, 5
He is
states
really
had
making this shit
mail-in
up.
ballots for the last decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And
They
you don't have to
have no
solicit the
mail-in
ballot.
ballots.
It's sent to you.
Right.
It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by the time,
by the certain
by
time,
election
by
day.
the dead time,
If it
by the
doesn't get in
deadline.
until the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted.
Right.
He's just afraid of counting
Because the
votes.
postmark, as long as the postmark
I want
is
to continue
before.
with you on
I
this.
love
Vice President Biden.
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a statement like that.
Excuse me.
No, he's not.
Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown
yeah.
out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this, because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot, because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, when you have 80 million ballots, Senate is swamping the system. You know it can't be done. You know it can't, and already there's been fraud.
Mail service delivers gentlemen, and the final question is, in 8 states, we can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until election day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks,
it could be months,
until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any
yanking them out of his ass. He ain't even pulling them. He is yanking them straight out.
Declare victory until the election has been independently certified.
No, he's not.
President Trump,
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you
he's
know,
promoting
today,
violence.
Problem.
There
in
you
Philadelphia,
go.
they went into
There you
watch.
go.
They're called poll watchers. A very safe, very nice thing.
There you
they
go.
were thrown out.
Promoting
they weren't allowed
violence.
to watch. You know why?
You can't watch somebody.
You
can't watch somebody vote. It's illegal.
I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair
I ain't
election.
having
If
it.
it's a
This
fair
is crazy.
election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated,
here we go.
I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what.
And then the first person that gets injured and hurt, they'll be sitting up there talking about some
You're
they
sending
didn't.
out 80 million ballots. They're not equipped to.
See,
These people
this is
aren't
crazy.
equipped to handle it.
This is the
Number
shit
two,
I'm talking
they
about.
cheat.
This right here.
They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3
Where?
days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
You think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. They count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until election day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military,
Chris's cash
they've been voting by ballots since the Civil War.
He needs one. Jesus.
And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not?
I didn't finish mine, and I
somehow
good
not
God,
fraudulent.
I can't.
It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is.
He's inciting violence. That's just what he's doing. He's inciting violence.
Somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established.
Then the first person that gets injured at a poll, he's going to cry and say he didn't.
They have no idea what
Vice President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president, not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
To be continued as in more debates as we
This
go
is
on.
horrible.
President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah In Salt Lake City, the two vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you and good night.
The hell. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. That's over with. Wow. What craziness. Whew. I don't know. I mean, hold on. It's still playing in my background. Let me just close this out. Yeah. Wow. Just total craziness. But anyway, you guys, it's been a long time. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that's over. I done finished a drink, and hearing all that, I definitely need another one. It's as plain as day that he does not know anything about governing people. He doesn't care. For him, it's all about money that he can earn for himself. So, I mean, for those of you who support him, I don't see how you can support him unless you believe in the police brutality, the killing of unarmed people, and all the other things that he definitely promotes. Because as you heard him say out of his own mouth, he didn't even condone the people, the white supremacists or anything like that. He said, stand by, not stand down, but stand by. Stand by is different from stand down. So, yeah, we definitely have to be mindful of the language and the verbiage he's using, just like he promoted people going to the polls and actually watching people vote. It is illegal to watch someone vote. The only person that they allow to watch you vote is usually your children, because you have to bring them with you. But you cannot have another human by you while you're voting. That's illegal. But of course, he is a president who does not believe in following laws and order, as he likes to call himself, the president of law and order, but he doesn't believe in it. He only believes in law and order and punishment for a few, just not him. So, yeah, this was a whole show. But I'm hopeful that some people got some really good things out of it, and they got to see the character of this president, because it was different for a lot of people to see, because yes, he was going up against a woman. So those people who, have their whole sexist ideologies, they just immediately shut Hillary out and agreed with everything Trump said. This time Trump had to go against a man, and you could see that he had nothing to talk about, nothing to say, nothing of substance. Everything was to either make fun of or bring up old people that have nothing to do with this current presidential cycle. So, I mean, it is what it is at this point. The ball is in our court, and all we have to do is vote. That's all I can say is vote, vote, vote. If you can mail in your ballot and do so, do so. If you can drop it off at a ballot location box, do that as well. If you can vote early, I suggest you do that. I will be voting early myself. Know that a lot of the polling places used to have multiple places where you can vote early. Now, because of COVID, they have limited it to a few places. So you can check online at vote.com, type in your state, and they will tell you where your polling place is. So you definitely want to know where that is. And as far as election day itself, know that the lines will be long. But if you choose to wait till election day, please just be patient. No matter what time you are in line or however long it takes for you to be seen, as long as you are in line, your vote will count. So please do not leave the line. Whatever you do, just do not leave the line. If you can go early, go early. If not, please don't leave the line. These are all tactics that he is hoping that we take into heart, and we just totally, jump ship. And I'm not doing this, and forget about it and roll out. We cannot afford to do this. Our lives are on the line, and he does not care. So this is definitely, it's either put up or shut up at this point. As far as that's concerned, that's all I have. We've been on here for 2 hours and mad minutes. But thank you all for participating. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate you all. Love you all. Thank you so much for all that you do. You guys are great. Thank you to my moderators for keeping it locked down in here. And thank you all for really coming to support me here at the Hill. I definitely appreciate you. I know that there's other people doing kind of sort of the same thing with bigger numbers, but I love that you guys come here. You guys to hear me, what I give in my personal opinion on stuff. That means a great deal. I'm happy to share it with you all, and we just have these moments. So with all that said, please have a great night. I will see you guys at 12 o'clock noon for the rundown. And until then, peace out, be safe, and vote, please, people. Vote, 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 vote. I can't stress it enough. Please vote.